Good morning, children. Today we are going to see the second part of our lesson number 3, which is force. We discussed what is force. We saw the different types of force in our last class. Now, in this lesson, in this portion, we are going to see what is friction. So, what is the definition for friction? Friction means is a resistive force acting between two bodies. Resistive force means now you are pushing a table. Okay, if you lightly push, will the table move? No, the table is on the ground itself. Now you are trying to push with little more force. Will it move? No. Now you have to push it with your full effort, or you have 2 or 3 people should join and start pushing the table. Then only the table will move. Is it not? The resistive force, okay, shown by the table and the ground is called friction. Now the friction will act in the opposite direction of the motion. Okay, if you're pushing the table in one direction, the friction will be acting in the opposite direction. Then friction is a contact force because there is contact between the two surfaces. Then it depends on the nature of the surfaces. Friction will always depend on the nature of the surface. If the surface is smooth, you will have less friction. If you have rough surface, you have more friction. Okay, now we have the types of friction: static friction, kinetic friction. Static friction, your object is in the same position or in the same place, it is not moving. Kinetic friction, the object is moving. Okay, the football which is being kicked, it will be moving on the ground. Slowly it will slow down. So the two types of friction. First one, static friction, there is no relative motion at all, okay, between the two surfaces. There's no motion at all, but there is a friction between the table and the ground. Look at the example. You need not push or you need not pull. The table as such on the ground will have the friction. Okay. Next, kinetic friction, the friction between two surfaces when they are in motion. The ball comes to rest after moving some distance. Okay, look, you can see that in the example. The ball is moving in the right side direction. Friction is offered by the ground through the left side. So these two forces will act and the ball will slow down. Okay, now coming to the sliding friction, that is what the object slides. This slide you have seen in the parks, right? How are we sliding? We are sliding on that slide. So when the object slides means through the surface. The surface should be in contact with the surface. The friction between the two surfaces will call sliding friction. Okay. Now coming to the rolling friction. Rolling, the moment you see the ball or anything in spherical shape, okay, it will roll. Okay, when it rolls, the friction offered is called as rolling friction. See in the picture, you have the 3 ball or the 3 spherical shapes between the square box and the rectangular box. The 3 spherical shape is the balls or the wheels, or you can say the object that rolls. Only the spherical shape objects can roll. Okay, the moment they roll, the friction caused by that rolling is called as rolling friction. Now, what are the effects of friction? First effect, it produces heat. Heat means when you touch that particular part, it will be having the heat produced from that particular motion. Okay, then it will reduce the speed. Okay, it will reduce the speed of the vehicle or the motion of the vehicle, etc. Then it will cause wear and tear. Wear and tear means the material will be worn out. Worn out na, it will get damaged. In due course, as days go by, it will get damaged. So first one is it produces heat. Heat means if you touch the brake pedal, okay, it will be having the heat produced there. Then it will reduce the speed. Okay, the friction will reduce the speed, and then the friction will cause wear and tear of the material. That means the material will be damaged very soon. Now, what are the advantages of the friction? We want friction, is it not? Why? We will see. For walking on the road, yes, when we are walking on the road, there should be friction between our shoes and the road surface. Otherwise, we will be slipping on the road and we will fall down. The next one, hold the objects in the hands. To hold the object, say a pencil, okay, there should be a grip, is it not? Grip, or the friction should be there between the hand and the pencil. Otherwise, we cannot hold the pencil straight. Then, from the we can transfer the energy from the motor to the equipment. Take the example of the wheels of the car. So the car has to the uh, has to slow down when the brakes are applied. So when we apply the brake, the car will slow down only after um, sliding on the road surface. So the advantages of the friction is we have these examples: way to walk on the road, to hold the objects, and to slow down the moving vehicle. What are the disadvantages of the friction? Already we have seen produces heat. This heat is not good. It is a harmful effect. Then it causes wear and tear. It means what? The particular material will be damaged. In the picture I have shown the damaged tires. Okay, after 1 year or 6 months, the tires will be damaged because they are having to undergo so much of friction. Then the more fuel consumption, that means what? We have to use more fuel. Okay, when the friction is more, the fuel consumption will also be more. It will produce noise. Frictions will produce unnecessary noise. Okay, the machines, you will get some noise from the machines, no? The more if you hear the noise, then we can say the some wear and tear of the parts is there in the machine. So immediately we will apply lubricant or oil. Okay, then another example is you can say the noise you get from the gates. You have the gate at your house, no? After a long time, when after long usage, there will be this noise coming from when you are opening the gate. So what will we do? We will apply oil at the hinges. Hinges means at the joints of the gate. Then the noise will be reduced. So the disadvantage of the friction is it will produce noise, and we have to apply more force to overcome the friction. We have to apply more force to overcome this friction also. So it is also a disadvantage. So what are the disadvantages of the friction? It will produce heat, it will produce noise, it will cause wear and tear of the materials, and then more fuel is consumed and more force is required to overcome the friction. How are we going to reduce the friction? First one, you make the surface smooth. Okay, you make the surface smooth. It will reduce the friction. See in the example we have shown in the picture, I have two situations. One situation is having smooth surface. Second situation is having rough surface. So the rough surface has to be smoothened. Then the friction will be reduced. Now coming to the second method, we are going to apply lubricants. Lubricants will smoothen the surface. What are the lubricants available? We have grease, oil, okay, engine oil and all. No, all these are to reduce the friction. Here we have graphite powder also. Graphite powder is called the solid lubricant, whereas the grease, oil and all are called liquid lubricant. Okay, so the second method to reduce friction is to apply the lubricants. The third method, okay, we are going to provide rolling instead of sliding. So in our trolleys or in the stretchers or in the trolley bag where we are going to attach wheels. So this rolling friction will reduce the sliding friction. That is, the effect of this sliding can be reduced by attaching the wheels. So this will cause rolling friction. So that is why we have all the trolleys or heavy heavy carriers like our cylinders, stands, everything will have a wheel attached there, because the wheels will cause rolling friction, which is very less compared to the sliding friction. So fourth one, we are going to have the shape of the object. We are going to design the shape of the object such that the friction can be reduced. Take the example of the fish. The shape of the fish is a streamlined. Streamlined shape will reduce the friction when the fish swims. Same is the case for the bird. Okay, so these are all occurring in the nature. With that idea, we are going to design our objects like aeroplane, submarine, boat or ships such that they can reduce the friction with the shape itself. The shape of the object can reduce certain amount of friction. So the streamlined shape of the objects will reduce the friction. Okay. Now we saw four methods to reduce the friction. The first method was to smoothen the surface. Second method, to apply lubricants. The third method, to change the sliding friction to rolling friction. And the fourth method is we were trying to shape, or we are designing the shape of the objects so that it will reduce the friction. Now we already saw we need friction in our day-to-day life. So we can increase, the required friction can be obtained by either having the surface rough. Can have the rough surfaces, and we can also increase the mass of the object in motion. Now the examples of the friction, we can see the tires. The tires are treaded. Treaded means that small designs, or the small pores. Pores means what? Small depths, designs. All these designs are called treads. Treads. So the tires are treaded. Treaded means they are put the design on like this to provide maximum friction. Okay, the friction is between the tires and the roads. Why we want this friction? Because the tires should not slip. Slip means when the brake is applied, the tires should not slip. They should have the grip to stop the vehicle. So to avoid slipping, we are going to tread the tires. Tread means the tires are treaded or made the designs according to the tire size and shape. The next example, we have the trekking shoes with spikes. Spikes means the small thorn-like features at the bottom of the shoes. Why we want that? Because when the athletes or the trekking people are running or trekking, they should have the grip from the shoes on the ground. To get the grip, they will have the spikes or the on the shoes. Okay, then the handles of the bats, rackets. You see in this tennis racket, the shuttle racket, the bat, every handle will have a grip. The handle will be having a grip so that the players can handle it with a strong grip. They can handle it very steadily instead of slipping. Okay, so this example for a friction. Then we have playgrounds with lots of grass instead of mud or gravel because it will avoid slipping. When the children are playing on the grass, it will avoid slipping, and also it will avoid uh, damage to the children when they fall down. So the grounds are having lots of grass mainly to avoid slipping. So finally we can say friction is a necessary evil because we need friction, and at the same time friction is also having bad effects. So the example which can be more suitable for this term necessary evil is you are writing something on a paper, you want to erase it. Okay, you take the eraser and you start erasing that particular portion. After erasing, what has happened? That particular area has been erased, but the size of the eraser is also gone down. That is, the eraser is also worn down. Worn means it has been reduced, it has been used up. So the friction is always a necessary evil. Okay, so children, go slowly through this video again. Okay, understand what is friction, the types of friction, how are we going to reduce the friction, and where is friction necessary, and what are the examples of friction. Okay, if you have any doubts, you can ask me in the WhatsApp group. Okay, thank you.